the question is, how do we keep on inhabiting our body and relating, especially when there's unpleasantness, when there's pain, and when everything in us is going, I don't want to be here. And there is an equation that's very, very useful when we explore this, which is pain times resistance equals suffering. This is what happens when we have pain, is that there's a signal that something's wrong, and then it starts proliferating. So it's not just pain, but there's resistance to what's there, and then we lock in to suffering. A few days ago, I was swimming. I swim pretty regularly, and I strained or pulled something behind my knee. Now, my two major ways of exercising are hiking and swimming. And so it was medium pain. I could feel it with my steps, and so it was in my awareness. But it wasn't the unpleasantness of the pain that had me start resisting. It was where my mind went. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to swim. I'm not going to be able to hike. All my techniques for my antidepressants in this world are gone. I'm going to go downhill. How long is this strain going to last? What should I do? Should I not even be walking? You get the idea, right? That's where we start locking in. It's not just the physicality of pain. It's what our mind does with it. So, pain times resistance equals suffering. Pain times presence equals freedom. And let's look at how that can be the case. The first step is, when you find that there's pain in your body, just out of interest, start checking, okay, how am I resisting? What's the resistance? And what you'll probably find if you look close enough is where there's discomfort, there's a tensing against it. There's like a pushing away. And you'll also notice that your mind doesn't like it, and that there's thoughts about it that are trying to get rid of it. So you'll start sensing the different layers. Bring that above the line. We talk about the circle with the line going through it, and what's below the line is where you're unconscious, and above the line is consciousness. Bring resistance above the line. Because if it's below the line, the contraction will end up creating more suffering. That's part one. The second thing is, drop the word pain and just sense what's there as changing sensations. And you might even be sitting here right now and feeling your body, and maybe there's an area in it that's uncomfortable, that hurts. The practice is to shift from that fixed concept, pain, to, okay, this is moving sensations, and get interested in seeing if you can feel them, just as we practice with the meditation from the inside out. Can you feel the center of them? Can you feel the space they occupy? Can you notice how they're changing? Maybe there's even some words like swirling, squeezing, aching, tight, burning, cool. Just see if you can notice a lot about them, and start discovering, as you pay attention that way, this kind of dynamic presence, this space that you can inhabit that isn't so caught in the pain. You're not reacting to it. You become the space of presence. There's a real shift in your identity. The bottom line trick is to know that the sensations of unpleasantness belong. In this life, it's inevitable. They say pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, It's inevitable to have the discomfort. So let me tell you about one woman that was one of my inspirations in working with unpleasant sensations in the body. And when I met her, she's 20 years older than me, and she had been a dancer, but between an injury and arthritis and so on, shoulders or knees, she not only stopped dancing, but she did less and less exercise, gained more and more weight, And she became very ashamed of her body, aversive, and whenever there was pain there, it was kind of like a groaning and, I'm going downhill, and kind of pushing it away. And so when we talked about, well, what does it really mean to re-inhabit your body, this was not a pleasant prospect. I mean, because any attention to her body got her in touch with hating her body, really. So the work of the practice was to notice the layers of the resistance, not liking my body, not trusting my body, feeling betrayed by my body. When pain comes up, it's only going to get worse, this arthritis. All the thoughts and all the ways that she tensed against and pulled away. And her practice became to kind of undo the resistance, just to say, it's okay, this belongs. In other words, whatever the waves were there, the waves in her mind, the waves in her body, the unpleasantness, this belongs. Now the power of saying this belongs, or I sometimes say this too, is every time you say it, there becomes more space for what's there. And when it becomes really a very ongoing wise response, there's more and more of a sense of resting in the space that can include what's going on. So she kept saying, this belongs, and shifting from pain, arthritis, and the story to just sensations. Okay, burning, tightness, pressing, squeezing, and noticing how they change and softening around them. That's one of the really powerful things you can do when there's discomfort, is to soften around and a sense of space around the discomfort. And so she started getting the knack of being able to inhabit her body, the different parts of her body. She started with where it was easier. Her feet. Her feet were not in pain. She could just feel, and you might feel it right now again, that you can bring your awareness inside the feet and inhabit the feet. And although she had a little arthritis in her hands, she was able to inhabit her hands and then start spreading that awareness through her body. And what she started discovering was a sense of this very alive presence inside, a sense of vitality. She became more vibrant, and a real sensitivity to energy flows. And just to move forward in the story, she began to teach children dancing. And after a couple of years, she basically told me that by inhabiting my body, Tara, she said, I got my life back and my spirit. It doesn't matter that there's pain. What matters is how we work with it, how we relate to it.